Morning, we will continue with our overview of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We will have four sessions, and in the first session, this morning, we will discuss the verses 1 to 9. So the 6th chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. It describes the Ashtanga yoga system of the eightfold yoga system, which leads to meditation, dhyan, meditation of the super soul. In the first 5 chapters, Krishna has explained a buddhi yoga, working with a consciousness fixed on him without any desire, fruitive desires, no material desires. So the Lord has also explained Sankhya, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga processes, all meant to obtain liberation. But factually, they are stepping stones to come to the perfect yoga of Krishna consciousness. At the end of the 5th chapter, and continuing in the 6th chapter, Krishna starts to explain this process of Dhyana Yoga. He concludes that he is the goal of meditation. Even in the Ashtanga Yoga practice, Karma Yoga is necessary in the beginning stages. We will learn that just because the goal is Yoga Rudha, is the highest stage where the mind has become free from all mental activities and disturbance, and one becomes fixed in meditation. So we will start with the first verse of the 6th chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Anasrita Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi Sayogisana Niragnana Sakriya. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, when who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated, is in renounced order of life, he is a true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So that what is stressed here is that, yes, in the beginning one should work out of duty, which is Karma Yoga. So impersonalist sannyasis and mystic yogis, they think themselves sometimes liberated, and sometimes they stop performing prescribed duties. Actually, they are self-interested, because jnanis, what do they want? They want to become one with Brahman, and yogis, they want mystic powers. So real sannyas and real yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of Krishna without self-interest. So in the next verse, Krishna will speak about the real meaning of sannyas. He will explain that sannyas means yoga. Yam sannyasam iti prao yogam tam viti pandava naya sannyasta sankalpo yoga bhavati kashana. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga, or the linking oneself with the Supreme Ocean of Pantu. For one can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. So Krishna says here, sannyas and yoga, they are non-different, because both include giving up the fruitive desire. But a Krishna conscious person is better because he's simultaneously a sannyasi and a yogi, because he engages his senses in the service of the Lord. So in the next verse, Krishna will explain in this Dhyana Yoga system or Astanga Yoga system, in the beginning, one must work that work without being attached to the fruits of action, but with the aim to build up a capacity of having a mental equilibrium, mentally balanced and peaceful. Because if one's heart is still full with material desires, then you cannot meditate. It's too disturbed. So to meditate, you must first become peaceful. So that's text 3. Aruruksur munir yogam karma karna muchyate yoga udasita sheva samakarnam uchyate. For one reason, neophyte in the Eightfold System, yoga system, work is said to be the means. One must work. Yeah. For one who is already elevating yoga, cessation of material activities is said to be the means. So in the beginning, one must work to give up material activities, to purify the heart. And how is that done? One works without being attached to the fruits. That's karma yoga, out of duty. Out of duty in a higher sense means for Krishna. So the yogi must work at achieve this mental peace, this mental equilibrium, and build up a capacity to meditate. That devotees easily attain that condition because they are active, but they do it for Krishna. So they think of Krishna while they are acting. So their activities are in the service of Krishna. So that's more easy. So in the beginning, aruruksur, yeah, that's the beginning stage of yoga. One must work to purify oneself, and the higher stage is called yoga ruda. That's the stage where one can fully meditate. Now, text 4. Yadainandriyarte shuna karmas anuchayate sarvakalpam sankalpa sannyasi yogarudastu tachyate. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when having renounced all material desires. He neither acts for sense gratification nor for fruitive activities. So that's advanced. He has given up acting for sense gratification and has no material desires. That's a high stage. But now how to attain that? For that, we need the mind. The mind is very important in yoga because it's to the mind we meditate. That's, you see, point 5 here on the screen, the 6.5, the mind. So this is an important verse, a key verse, that one uses the mind, one needs the mind to perform yoga. It's with the mind that you link to the Supreme. By thinking of Krishna, it's on to the mind. So if the mind helps you to think of Krishna, then it will elevate you. If the mind wants to fulfill material desires and become attached to it, it will pull you down. Therefore, Krishna says, Udrat Atman Atmanam Atmanam Avasadayat Atmeva Atmanam Andu Atmeva Ripur Atmana. One must deliver oneself with the help of the mind and not degrade himself. The mind can be your best friend or your greatest enemy. In the next verse, Krishna will explain what that means. So yoga practice means to control the mind. And so that it becomes detached from sense enjoyment, it is easily done by engaging the mind in Krishna conscious activities. So in the next verse, Krishna says, Bandhu first, let's go to the text on the slide. So one should deliver the soul by the mind and not degrade it. The mind is a friend of the soul and enemy as well. In the next slide, there, Baldev Vidyabhushan says, one should not submerge the Atma in samsara by the mind, attached to sense objects. Because the soul identifies with the mind. That's the biggest error we all make. We identify with the mind. That's when it feels good. Oh, I'm good. But if the mind is absorbed in trying to enjoy things in this world for one's own profit, then it submerges the Atma in samsara, because the soul will, by that attachment of the mind, forced to take birth again, because absorbed in samsara means one performs actions through the mind. One performs actions through the mind that create reactions in the future, because the actions of the mind are done with the faulty understanding that everything in the world is for my enjoyment and life is meant for enjoying the body. And by that, the mind is attached to sense objects. We have heard in the second chapter already of the Bhagavad Gita how this attachment on the mind on sense objects grows. Dayate visyapam sam sangha sanghe jayate dayate visyapam sam sanghe teshiva jayate sangha sangyate kama kama koda vijayate. The mind meditates on things. I want to enjoy that. I want to have this new iPhone. I want to enjoy this kind of food. I want to live in such a house. I want to have such a husband or wife. That all inventions of the mind, and by that the mind becomes attached to these things. And if the soul identifies with the mind, yes, there we go. We are creating actions to enjoy. And the scriptures say, if you want to enjoy something, the reaction in the future will be suffering. So you will have to get that suffering and take birth again for that. By that, our own mind is the cause of taking birth again and again, one after another. So therefore, Baladev Vidyabhushan says, we should not submerge the Atma in samsara, taking birth again. It is committing violence on our own self, on the soul, to force ourselves to take birth again. And that's not good. Taking birth is very painful, not only for the mother, also for the child, and so much suffering that then we become, next slide, we become entangled. The pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego. False ego means this belongs to me, and this belongs to me and is for my enjoyment. I is a false I and mine. We have a real I as a servant of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna. But the false ego desires to control material nature and make plans to enjoy. So, but the mind must help us to disentangle ourselves. And how can the mind help? By engaging the senses and the mind in Krishna conscious activity. The mind should think of Krishna. The mind should see the goal, that the goal is Krishna, and performs activities for his pleasure. So next slide, reflections. And that we have to see all for ourselves during 24 hours of each day. How much time is my mind involved with false ego and forcing me to act, following my attachment to sense objects in this world? So how much time are we scrolling on the internet about, can I buy this or that or that kind of clothes at this size, that color, and we become so absorbed in I and mine and how much of our time do we dedicate for Krishna? Are we cooking for Krishna? Are we hearing about Krishna? Are we discussing about Krishna? Are we worshipping Krishna in the deity form? Are we glorifying Krishna? Are we chanting his names? Srila Prabhupada said, you have any moment during the day, you take your bead back and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Next slide. This is the 6th verse. What does it mean, the mind to be an enemy or a friend? Bandhus atmatmanastasyaya natma vatmanajacha anatmanatu satvat vervartetatma vasatvat. One who has conquered the mind, is controlled this mind, is the best friend. But if one cannot do that, the mind becomes the greatest enemy. So the uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy because it forces one to serve the dictations of lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy. The controlled mind at the other side is the best friend, because then one will follow the dictations of the super soul, the dictations of Krishna, or the dictations of the spiritual master. All these dictations of Krishna, that's what he speaks in Bhagavad Gita. The super soul from within will not say something else. And the super soul from within speaks to pure devotees. As we are not pure, we cannot hear Krishna within. And for many of us, most of us, all this purity is still far away. but there is no reason to be discouraged with that, because Krishna speaks here Bhagavad Gita. He gives us the instruction, and the spiritual master gives us the instruction. Bhagavatam gives us the same instructions. The sadhus, the saintly devotees, give us the same instructions. So the mind is a friend of the soul which has conquered the mind. The mind is an enemy of that soul which has not controlled the mind. So Krishna is saying Arjuna, you are Mahabahu, you have strong arms, and you are killing so many animals, so many enemies, so many enemies, and you are practically unconquerable. But that's not so great, Arjuna. Greater is one who has conquered his mind, enemy within. That is more difficult. You see here, this next slide, there you see this friend looking at a laptop that completely absorbed in surfing the internet. That's all due to an unconquered mind. When a devotee goes shopping, he has a list, and that's what he needs. But some go shopping and, oh, I would like this, I would like that. One becomes attracted and diverted. No, a devotee knows, I need that, that's it. That's the difference. So otherwise, one follows the mind, it becomes an unconquered enemy. And one follows the dictation, one becomes a servant of one's own lust, one's anger, one's greed, one's illusions, one's envy. So people think, oh, these Hare Krishnas, they are, I feel sorry for them. They cannot do what they want. So many restrictions. But these restrictions we follow are the restrictions of freedom, of you get control over the mind, and otherwise you are a servant of the mind, of the lust, anger, greed, and so on. That next slide, 6.6. The real yoga entails meeting the Paramatma within the heart, and following is dictations. So that's the goal of Jnana Yoga, come in contact with the super soul. But that's not sufficient. After many births and yoga practice, the yogi comes to that perfection, and he sees the super soul heart face to face, because his heart has become free from material desires. But what then? You see the super soul, and you realize he controls material nature. I'm not controlling. Okay. That's good, but what do you do then? You follow the dictation of the super soul. You follow what the super soul instructs, and you understand that the super soul is an expansion of Krishna, and that the goal of life is to serve Krishna. So why going to all this Ashtanga yoga process to find out that the super soul is the controller of everyone? Krishna says, I'm the super soul. We can just accept it and then serve Krishna, because the yogi who realizes that the super soul is controller of everything. It's good news, but he remains still in this world. He does not go back to the spiritual world. To go to the spiritual world, you must act as a soul. And you must know that we are a part and parcel of Krishna. We are meant to serve Krishna. If you don't do that, you don't act as a spirit soul. You can only enter in the spiritual realm in Vaikuntha, Goloka, Vrindavan, if you are serving the Supreme Lord, acting as a spirit soul. So, next slide. This seminar-ch6part1. And that's interesting. One devotee said to me, when I came to this movement, and she attended in the Zurich temple a few Sunday feasts, and she became interested in the philosophy, started to read Bhagavad Gita. And then someone gave her a book, seminar-ch6part1, from Raghunadas Goswami. And this seminar-ch6part1 means instructions for the mind. It's a prayer to the mind. And then she understood, oh, I'm not the mind. If you pray to the mind, then you cannot be the mind. Yeah? So she got the point, I'm not the mind. if you are not the mind, you must learn to control the mind. That you see here, these 4 happy frogs, they look happy, but they are making a lot of noise. That talking. People are so much talking about this, about that, but if it's related to things in this world and it has no relation to Krishna, like these frogs, what's the result? They are inviting by their loud noise a serpent to come and eat them. They are inviting death. But Raghunath Goswami here prays to the mind. My dear mind, you must categorically relinquish all frivolous and mundane talk, which is like a prostitute who steals all your intelligence and resolve. So that takes our intelligence away. We speak about material sense enjoyment, and the mind becomes more and more addicted. And there you go down. It's like you come like a prostitute. The mind proposes this and that. That's like a wife dresses for the husband in different dresses to attract him, and this dress and that dress, and the man becomes mad. So that it's like the mind is like a prostitute. Raghunath Goswami, he was a son from a zamindar, a very rich family. That they got an income, and this is 5 centuries back. They got an income of 200,000 rupees a month. At that time, a rupee was a lot of money. So you can imagine, very rich, and he renounced everything to join the Lord Chaitanya's movement. It's a whole story before he got the association of Lord Chaitanya. First, he needed to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, who engaged him in acts to please the devotees. But that's going too long, that story, to tell here. But finally, he came in Jagannath Puri, and he renounced everything. And he was standing before the entrance of the temple in Jagannath Puri. And he was begging. So, and he got donations, rice, and Mahaprasad. By that he could maintain himself. But one day he was begging, and he was thinking, his mind was going that this person, maybe he will give, or maybe this person will give. So he was thinking, my mind is like a prostitute. It's going for, it's meditating on getting donations. So he renounced that. He stopped begging, and he collected some old rice they throw away, and got the nice parts of it, and I was washing that, and I was eating that. And Lord Chaitanya became very pleased when he heard that. So we have to observe our minds. What is our mind doing? And that will be explained further in this chapter, how to deal with the mind. Very important. Next. My dear mind, this material life, in this material life, you are attacked by lust. It is like a gang of thugs that waylay innocent pilgrims, strangling you with strong, terrible ropes in the form of distress, pain, and futile endeavors. So that's the realization of a devotee. My mind is my enemy. It let me run after obtaining so many things. to get wealth and enjoyment, more and more wealth. That I want a big house, I want 2 houses because I want to give it to my children, I want everyone to be happy. And then death comes, it's all finished, all for nothing, it's gone. It's futile. And it gives one distress, because if you want to enjoy, you must suffer in next life. So that's the law of karma. You have to pay for it with your reactions. So, and it's strangling you. It's killing your real identity. You cannot understand anymore that you are a spirit soul different from this body. Now, 6-6, that is this first 6-6 gives like a summary what's going to happen in that yoga system and what you will attain. Citatmana prasantasya paramatma mahatma samahita situsna sukha dukatu situsna sukha dukashu tatamana pamanayo. So when the mind is conquered, when it's peaceful, prasantasya, the mind is peaceful. What does it mean that the mind is peaceful? That the peaceful state is the beginning of our spiritual existence. Then we can understand, feel that we are a spirit soul, realize it, start to realize it. That's called the Brahma Buddha platform, spiritual platform. Is prasanatma. One is peaceful. Peaceful means nashosti nakanksati. One does not hanker for things in this world, and one does not lament anymore. One is understood, I'm not this body. What's the use of lamenting? Everything goes wrong with the body. Fine. It's not what we have to expect. Everything will go wrong in our life at the end. If you don't believe it, I worked for many years, for 5-6 years, I was head of administration of a geriatric department of a big hospital. And every week, 2 of them, there were 108 residents, 2 of them we would die. I had to make the last invoice, body back, the payment for the mortuarium, everything else. But that's the illusion where the mind lives in. Maharaj Yudhishthir, it's in the Mahabharata. He encounters a yaksha who had taken the form of a big bird, and the yaksha asked Yudhishthira Maharaj, what's the most amazing thing in this world? And Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the most amazing thing in this world is that everyone is making plans in this world like they are going to live eternally. And that's the illusion. We are not living eternally. But why do we have that feeling? Because the soul is eternal, but the body is temporary. And we strive for things for the body, and we should strive for wealth for the soul. And wealth for the soul is developing our spiritual qualities and raising our consciousness out of this deep well of ignorance. And now, to get out of this deep well of ignorance, for that we need the mind, Krishna says. Very important. The mind can get us out, but the mind of most people in this world, practically everyone, is degrading them towards animal life. So the the reflection is, am I a servant of my own lust and greed, or do I follow the instructions of the spiritual master and Lord Krishna, or instructions of the super soul within? It, the same. That's our choice. I'm the servant of my mind, or I'm the servant of Krishna. If I'm the servant of the lust, anger, and greed in my mind, good luck. That's why we all suffer here. 6, 7. So when one's mind is fixed on the superior nature, one has no alternative than to follow the dictations of the Supreme. What does that mean? What does that mean? What is that? How do we merge our mind with the superior nature? Mahatmastu Mamparta Devim Pragati Ashuta. In the 9th chapter, we will hear that the Mahatma, the great souls or the devotees, they take shelter of the divine energy. How do we do that? By fixing our mind on the superior nature. If you engage yourself in devotional service, then you do it out of love, devotion for Krishna. Your mind should be filled with affection, devotion for Krishna. And fix your mind always on that goal. Krishna becomes Paramgati, the goal of all our activities. And then Samadhi becomes active. Hanuman was always fixed on the servant of Ram. And he would not deviate from that. When he jumped from South India to Lanka, then so many demons wanted to stop them, but Hanuman had no time. No, he was fixed on his mission of Ram. Because there was some demon, and she got the benediction that she would be able to swallow Hanuman. So, and when he was flying to Lanka, the demon came before Hanuman, wanted to stop him, and said, I've got benediction, I have to swallow you. And Hanuman made him very, very small, very small. And he jumped into her mouth and out immediately. And then he expanded himself and continued his flight. So the benediction was fulfilled. But they had no time, always fixed on the mission. So if we are always engaged in devotional service, our mind is connected with Krishna. And then we follow automatically Krishna's instructions. Because he instructs us to engage in his service. Because that's we are a part and parcel of Krishna. You are a spark, a spiritual spark. You have a fire. And out of the fire come sparks, spiritual sparks. And they fell on the ground. And they extinct. We are in that case. Our spiritual consciousness is extinct. It's not there anymore. But if the part is thrown again into the fire, then it regains its quality of fire. We are connected again with Krishna, we regain our spiritual power. So, next, 6-8. Jnana vijnana triptat nakutusto vichitandriya yuktait yuchate yuhi samalostasma kanshana. A person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of acquired knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and is self-controlled. He sees everything, whether it be pebbles or stone, are the same. So if one is engaged in devotional service, one feels fully satisfied. If you are connected with the source of spiritual energy, then you feel ecstasy, you realize who you are. And you don't want to become attached to anything in this world anymore. You see, pebbles or gold, it's the same. It's matter. That you may have a lot of gold, but if you are alone in this world, what are you going to do? To eat it? No. It has no value. You can also only buy matter with it. And matter does not make us happy. We need some matter, food to maintain the body, but otherwise, but what you see sometimes people in a family in a very rich car, and you think they are happy, but they are fighting with each other about this. This matter does not make you happy. It is the most unhappy people are the people in America. These are the most unhappy people according to a survey. And the most happy people are the people in Bangladesh. Can you imagine? It's just crazy, but it's like that. They feel the most happy. That in Bangladesh, they are all the devotees. They are very simple, and they are all satisfied. I met many of these devotees, very special. 6:9 is the last verse of today. Srimitra Rudashina Madhyastadvesha Bandhusu Sadhusapsa Papasu Samabunir Vinishati. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards honest, well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the mediators, the envious, friends and enemies, the pious and the sinners, all with an equal mind. So this is a higher position than just seeing gold and stones or pebbles as the same. It's seeing seeing friends, enemies, mediators, sinners, all as the same. That because why are people friends of each other, of enemies? Because this is my friend, because he gives me money, that he supports me in my endeavor to make advancement in becoming rich and nicely situated, and that this person is my enemy, that he sent me a tax bill or this or that, or this person that is giving me a lot of trouble, so it's my enemy. But this enemy and friend, that comes only from the fact that we get reactions from previous lives, that's all. It doesn't exist. It's no mind, it's enemies and friends. And the yogi here, he realizes there are no friends and enemies. Enemy is my mind. It's within. And in the next section, which we will discuss today, we will hear a lot of practical advice how to conquer this enemy and how to make it our friend. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes? That we are not the intelligence. No, the intelligence is, if in a conditioned state, the intelligence becomes an instrument of the mind. That the mind wants to fulfill material desires and uses the intelligence to make plans to get its goal. That's in a conditioned state. But the intelligence is supposed to control the mind and engage it in activities beneficial for the real self. So finer, more fine than the intelligence is the soul. The soul should direct the intelligence. But mostly that does not happen. In the conditioned state, the mind misuses the intelligence to fulfill material desires. And the soul, it's a zombie. It's like it does not exist because one identifies with the mind. But how does a Krishna conscious person direct his mind? What does the soul do? It desires. With its desires and its fate, it directs the intelligence. It directs the intelligence with desires to hear about Krishna. It directs the intelligence by the desire to use the intelligence in Krishna's service, to hear Bhagavad Gita. And the soul desires that intelligence direct the mind and senses to be engaged in Krishna's service. That the thinking, feeling, willing is a function of the mind. But the power of discrimination is the intelligence. The decision to do what to do and what not to do is up to the intelligence. But the soul decides through the medium of the intelligence what to do or not to do. But the intelligence must be spiritualized by hearing the instructions of Krishna. And if we hear the instructions of Krishna, we develop spiritual intelligence. And then the soul will get faith. And with that faith, and it desires to advance in spiritual life and directing the intelligence. So who is discriminating? The discrimination is done by the intelligence, but the decision is taken by the soul through desire. Does that make it a bit clearer? Okay, thank you. Something else? Yes. That indirectly, yes. Because all these other living entities are part and parcels. They are part of Krishna. But it's better that you are conscious that you are part of Krishna. And how can you serve these part and parcels of Krishna? By doing something that's beneficial for them. And what's beneficial for them? Get them out of ignorance. Get them to know that they are parts of Krishna. It's not by doing good work to someone, giving food and charity, that this is really good for them. That's nice. And in your next life, you will receive a lot of charity. But that doesn't help these living entities. You have to take birth again. Because of their attachment to things in this world. So the only beneficial way to serve other living entities is to give them Krishna consciousness. Give them Krishna prasad, at least they eat spiritual food. Help them to advance in spiritual life. That's real service. Otherwise, your service is material. And for yourself, it will mean you have to take birth again. And to receive the reaction of all the so-called good things you have done. So, helping others means helping to advance them in spiritual life. Then give them Krishna prasad, tell them to chant Hare Krishna, and speak about Bhagavad Gita, that if they are not envious, we can serve them in that way. Does that help? Good. Something else? No? Sai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.